What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name's Josh, and on today's episode, we're going to be recapping the recent Arkham City trailer. So we're taking a break from the recaps, reviewing my thoughts, opinions, and what I noticed in the video, and then next week we'll resume the David and Dan interviews. In terms of today's structure, we're going to start it off with the actual video. I'm going to point out everything I noticed, and then we're going to round the video off with some points to summarize my thoughts. So with that being said, grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, a VeVeVerse production. Gothic City. I thought they called it Arkham City. Oh, Escape from Arkham. Okay. Alright, so I want to point out some things that I noticed in the first scene here. So right away, 98% of this world is built using simple shapes. From the roads, to the columns, to the buildings, everything over here, the tunnels, the walls, everything is simple shapes. Now, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm going to point out all the little things that I see here, right down to the crosswalks, okay? So the crosswalks are, they're a little off angle, if you can tell, okay? They need to be a little bit more straight, but you can tell, again, simple shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to make the crosswalk, 2 to make the lane. Even here, this lane is wider than up here, right? If I actually move to the next slide, you're going to see like spots on the floor that are uneven as well. So this right here tells me that they didn't use the angling tool where you can use like the 45 degrees and 90 degrees to make sure pieces are neatly positioned, which is fine. I'm just pointing it out for people who, don't have a lot of gaming experience. This might seem obvious to some people, but I'm pointing these things out for the people where it's not so obvious. But again, with regards to the simple shapes, everything that you guys are looking at on screen, for the most part, is again, just the default shapes. So the columns, the floor, the ceiling, pretty much all these buildings here, right down to the lettering, I believe. We're going to have the DeLorean drive by, Coca-Cola truck, Harley disappears behind the truck, then we see Kit's Knight Rider. With respect to our last slide, in this one, same thing. All the columns, the buildings, the bases of the buildings, the streets, all simple shapes. We're going to have some smoke particle effects here. At first, I couldn't fully tell if this was like a default building. I think it's built using simple shapes because if you look at like a line like this, it's thicker than this one. Same thing here. This one's thicker than this one. So those slight differences make me think that this was made by hand. But you can see in the reflection, this is, I believe, a stream board. So we're going to have one stream board here. We're going to have another one here, another one here. We're going to have one stream board wrapping around the block here. Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know what's happening here, this Joker stream board, okay, it's a block. It's a simple shape. Okay. The stream board's been put on the block. It wraps around it. And then they've merged simple shapes inside of it to give it this kind of grid effect. We're going to have another stream board here, more up here. We're going to have a spotlight pointing up at the billboard. But we have a lot of moving elements and lights used in this world, guys. So you're going to notice that the frame rate of the video is pretty poor. I don't know if that's just because it's the frame rate of the video that's been uploaded, or if it's the actual frame rate inside of the world. But if it's the frame rate inside of the world, it would not surprise me. We have all the spotlights moving from point A to B. Inside here, like look all the lights and the moving stuff inside just this door, right? So all these little things that are moving is something that your computer is going to have to render. So I'm going to talk about this later on in the episode. Okay, now with regards to this blimp, I do believe that this was handmade as well. I don't think that this is a default model. My reason behind that is because if you look at this back part, it's a little off center. And then if you actually look at these rings here, so this back ring seems to be thinner than the front ring. Okay, so again, it's little details like this that make me think that they put this together with just default shapes. But with regards to the spotlights, these are going to be used with the scripting feature, I assume. Dan did talk about how you can script items from point A to B. So I think that's what's happening here. They set the spotlight to move from point A to point B. The one thing that was a little unfortunate though, and I'm not sure if there's a workaround here, but the spotlight actually goes through items, which looked a little odd. So I don't know if that's just the way that they had it set up, but hopefully this is something that we can alter. We're also going to see the glider drive by, again, using the same scripting feature from point A to point B. Lots of stuff we've already discussed here, just more default shapes, more scripting features, more lighting and particle effects. See the Batman number 89 glider. I can't fully tell if that's a collectible head or if that was made with default shapes, but either way, good on them. That camera angle was sweet. And I think what you guys are witnessing on screen right now is a great example of the storytelling potential with our collectibles. Again, I want to make reference to the frame right here. You guys can see it's lagging pretty badly. Now, if I'm completely honest, if I built this world, I would not have incorporated as many particle effects and lighting and moving elements as they did. I would have definitely simplified it a lot more. But going back to my previous point about how it shows the potential of storytelling with our collectibles, I think this video is a fantastic example of that. I mean, as you guys can see, they're teasing a part 2 and a part 3 right now, right? So they're already kind of creating their own little series out of it. So first and foremost, the first thing I want to point out is going to be the lighting, right? So we saw spotlights moving back and forth. We saw the lightning flashes. We saw a bunch of different particle effects. And then most importantly, and this is something that I really like seeing, because lighting in games, guys, is extremely complicated. But reflections off of buildings add so much to the game. I know that there were some stream boards on buildings that were actually streaming stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. If you actually look at certain angles in the video, you'll see reflections bouncing off of certain items. Now, next up, I want to talk a little bit about the camera angles, because I made the comment about the scene with Harley in the glider, and, you know, that was really well captured. But it was really interesting to see how they filmed this entire process, because obviously they were using tools inside the VeVeVerse to capture all this. It gives somebody like me as a content creator a good idea of what to expect. For the most part, all the camera angles in this video were quite basic. You have your standard panning, zooming in and out, that type of stuff. But that scene with Harley, like I said, that right there paints the picture of exactly what you can do with these camera features. Another one I really liked was seeing the shadow of Batman drop from the building. That was a really cool one. Very simple. The camera actually didn't even move. But if I think with respect to what kids are already doing on platforms like Fortnite, right? They're already making short films with games like that. In no way are the graphics anywhere comparable. But in terms of being able to, you know, do things like build your own portfolio of textures, right? That allows you to customize things to a whole other level, because it's not like you're limited to a library of textures. You can create your own. You can keep importing more. So as far as I'm concerned, if you have a vision, you can create it, as long as, I guess, you have the skill set to do it. But the scene with the camera angle focused on Harley driving that glider painted the picture perfectly for me. Next up, we were able to witness a scripting feature used quite a bit in this video. So it was used for the spotlights moving from point A to point B, also for the vehicles, right? So Dan did say in his interview that you can use the scripting feature for basic things like making your collectibles move, bounce, disappear, basic things like that. So speaking of disappearing, that's exactly what happened with Harley Quinn when the Coca-Cola truck drove by. And then speaking of Harley Quinn, when she drove in with the glider, we saw the little explosion with Boba Fett. The two Bobas were moving away from the explosion, and again, that's using the scripting feature, moving from point A to point B. Now, with regards to the collectible quality, I do want to clear this up, because in scenes where we saw the Knight Rider, I would argue that it did look better, but it probably doesn't look as good as if you were to just import kit into a completely empty space. So this is going to have to do with the LOD that Dan was talking about, or level of detail. So the further you move away from an object, the more distorted or the lower resolution that item is going to have. That, coupled with the fact that there was just a number of items in this space, again going back to the moving elements and the lighting and particle effects, all of that contributes to this as well. So with that being said, and I know some people are not going to like hearing this, but I think that this proves that the performance of your computer is absolutely going to matter in phase 1, and we have been told that it's not going to. So to be clear, you can still take an older PC, log into the VeVeVerse, and, you know, experience parts. But with that older PC, you're going to experience much more lag in a world like Arkham City. So just take that into consideration. If you're somebody who has a lower level PC, it might be something you want to think about. So I made a couple comments about storytelling, and I think this video is a great demonstration of the storytelling potential of our collectibles in the VeVeVerse. This would also just be in a virtual environment that has nothing to do with the AR potential as well. But in my personal opinion, and if Mr. Falcon or Tails is listening to this, I personally believe, and I don't know if it's fully up to them, or if VeVe's making the call here, or if they're still building parts 2 and 3. But in my personal opinion, I think parts 2 and 3 should have been released already. I think the impulse is dying. I think it needs to be a situation where you guys released part 1, but you should have parts 2 and 3 ready in the chamber. And in my opinion, I think you should be firing them right now. So to round the video off, I want to talk about 2 companies here, and that's going to be Discord and Apple. I've talked about Discord a few times recently just because I'm building it out. And while I've been doing so, I had a particular, thought come to mind, and I want to compare VeVe to Discord's app directory here because, VeVe is going to be releasing the VeVeVerse in segments. We know this, but we also know that in the future, we're going to have the ability to kind of create our own 3D models and sell them in VeVe's marketplace. Knowing this piece of information, it got me thinking about how Discord grew and how Apple grew. And for those who don't know, these are 2 companies that grew exponentially once they allowed developers to start creating their own apps and their own bots for their stores. So as I've been building out my Discord, I've been adding certain bots, right, to customize the experience. But every single bot that I add was created by a specific developer. So what's actually happening here is Discord is growing from all of the user-generated content. They're not even generating the content. It's their user base that's generating it for them. So we will see the same exact waterfall effect when users start to create and sell their own models. Now, I also mentioned Apple, so let's go over there. Again, the success of Apple's App Store comes from them allowing developers to make apps for their App Store. It's the same exact reason, actually, why they announced the Vision Pro ahead of time. It's to allow developers right now, as I speak, to build out applications for the headset. It's a way for Apple to work smart instead of working hard. Instead of them hiring all of the developers to build all of these apps, their user base is doing it for them. And on top of that, they take a cut. So again, the same waterfall effect is going to happen when users start creating their own worlds, their own games, and then posting these in the VeVeVerse or sharing them on YouTube with a link in the description, and somebody can click on that and immediately visit that world. I posted earlier on Twitter these 2 examples, but 6 more as well. We got Roblox, we got Fortnite, we got games like GTA 5 with their creator mode, Forza Horizon 5 with their creator mode. All of these platforms grew exponentially when their user base was allowed to generate content for them. The same exact thing is going to happen with the VeVe community inside the VeVeVerse. But none of it would work if David and Dan didn't build the community in the first place. And that's why it's so crucial that we have a strong community to start this off with. So ladies and gents, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. But those are going to be some of my thoughts and opinions on the recent Arkham trailer. I am very excited for the future, guys. I do think there was a lot of bullish things in this video. And with respect to the examples with Discord and Apple, I can't wait to start seeing that type of stuff unfold. Now, speaking of Discord, okay, the Discord is going to be one of the perks for our membership tiers, which are now going to be live on the channel. So if you guys are looking to support the channel, this is probably going to be one of the best ways to do it. There's going to be 2 different tiers, either a Cub or a Panther. Each one is going to grant you access to certain perks, and the tiers do stack on top of each other, okay? So if you do sign up as a Panther, all of the perks under the Cub tier you will receive as well. I'm going to toss those perks on screen now. We got everything from the Discord group to watching game parties to discounts in the store and early access for future drops. So I am really excited to roll this out, and any feedback that you guys can give me with regards to how it's set up, please let me know down below. But if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for next, I'll catch you then.